If you ask any City fan, they know very well the importance and significance of Colin, Francis and Mike.
No leap to Bell, to Samabi, to Leo. That was football perfection.
To the club, to the history of the club, to the legacy that they've left.
We won the Second Division Championship, First Division Championship, the FA Cup, European Cup Winners' Cup, 2 League Cups, 3 Charity Shields. So we didn't do too bad in that particular time.
They're key icons of different eras. For me, they meant a lot.
Absolutely 3 legends of the football club.
When I speak to people about them, you understand straight away how important they are for this club and what they mean to them.
He made the goal that made the cup possible.
These statues are ultimately an inspiration of what one can achieve for this club, for this city, for generations to come.
It's a great honour, really great honour. To make this statue, the 3 of us, is something quite amazing.
Oh, very emotional, very proud. Just so sad that he's not here to see it. And it's such an accolade, really.
Being immortalised forever outside the front of the ground it's just pride. That's the only way I can describe it.
When the fans see this sculpture, they will immediately recognise the players. But it's so much more than that, this piece. This is capturing something that is the spirit of Manchester City Football Club.
What I've tried to do is capture the essence of their play, capture their skills, Colin Bell's balletic athleticism. The pugnacious enthusiasm of Franny Lee, that charging moment. And then the sort of the jocularity and the skill and the endeavour of Mike Summerby.
He was so graceful. You know, the way he runs with his arm out and his finger pointed. That's very much Colin.
Yeah. Really
impressed.
You can tell with it straight away.
Yeah, you can.
When he played that way. It was the movement. Yes, Mike.
I think he's done very, very well to catch the features of the person and the personality of the people, which I think he's done.
You can really appreciate each individual players, and then when you look at it collectively, understand the 3 and how they work together.
It's emblematic of a period when, you know, City were playing beautiful football, and these 3 guys, the beating heart of a great team that won us titles.
Bell and into Lee's path. That's a beauty.
You can't suddenly have 3 players winning things and doing things. It's a team effort, and we had some fantastic players.
They wanted to make sure that everyone knew that it wasn't just them. They were part of this generation of incredible players. We wanted to acknowledge their contribution by having their surnames placed on the plinth as a lasting sort of celebration, really.
Those who pass away will be remembered forever by the Blues, and putting them at the forefront will show again how rich the history is of the club.
Kids know everything about every other footballer around the world these days. What they don't know about is the history. So just that focal point of the statue allows them to start asking questions.
I hope for the Manchester City fans, when they see them, they get that sense of connectivity and attachment.
Left foot and in!
We're very proud to be able to be involved in a football club like Manchester City, and I never expected in my life as a footballer to be a statue there of the 3 of you.
He was always grateful, really, the support that they gave him. Colin would say a big thank you.
I'm sure he probably would have been emotional actually seeing it in person outside the stadium.
Manchester City is an extended family, and just a huge thank you to the fans and the club.
When you see that statue, for sure, I think their contribution to Manchester City, which was the base of it, but it's far more than that. This is an important part of the Etihad, an important part of Manchester, I think a part of English history.
Welcome to Matchday Live. Today has been a very, very special day for Manchester City fans as we honoured the men in the statue behind us. Colin Bell, Mike Summerby and Francis Lee have taken their place alongside David Silva, Sergio Aguero and Vincent Kompany as icons outside the Etihad Stadium. Today we're going to be celebrating that, and I will be here and we will be paying tribute with very special guests. But for now, let's head over to the studio where Kel is waiting.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, FG, and thank you to all of you beautiful people for joining us here on Matchday Live. As you've seen there right at the start of the show, tonight is a very special night for all Manchester City fans as we honour 3 iconic legends with that beautiful statue. And throughout the show, we're going to be talking about those players, getting memories and feelings from our guests. And of course, as well, we're going to be building up to the all-important Champions League clash as we take on RB Leipzig with the chance of topping our group for the 7th consecutive year in a row. Here to help me get into all of that are 3 other legends in the form of Steve Howey, Shaun and Mr. Paul Dickov. Paul, I'm going to come to you because just as we were sat there watching it, the statue is beautiful, but can we really fully capture just how important these legends are to the club and our history?
No. The 3 of them all played a big part in my own Manchester City career. Francis, he was the chairman at Esme. Actually took me out. I was on my way down to sign for Southampton.
No way.
And Francis was the one who called me up and said, look, I want you to turn around and come back up here. And he said, just give me the opportunity to talk to you. Manchester City's a fantastic club. His love for the club was unbelievable. Turned round, and after speaking to him for 5 minutes, I knew this is where I wanted to be. Obviously Mike, still see him around the club, absolute legend. Fortunate enough to do a lot of events, travel away with him. Proper character off the pitch, but what a player he was on the pitch. And Colin, probably one of the most humble people I've ever met in my life. And people talking about being the greatest ever Manchester City player. When you think the players we've got now and we've had over the last few years, it just shows you how highly thought of. And yet again by the club, what a fantastic tribute to do. And like everything they do, it's the statues themselves are really, really classy, really well done, but we're a classy club, aren't we?
We are.
And we don't forget.
Listen, we never forget, and it is so important because it is, of course, in the very fabric of us, of who we are, and hopefully many of you will get a chance to come to the stadium and see the statues for yourself. Shaun, we had a beautiful VT there at the start, kind of summarising the statue's journey, and a little clip of you in there as well. It's nice to see yourself in there, but of course you met the legends yourself.
Yes, I think this is absolutely beautiful. It's wonderful that we honour them in this way because, again, it connects the young fans. The young fans are now able to come and see and ask questions about, some of the leads in them. And, these is weird because whenever I've been in the presence of them, they're just normal guys that have a chat with you. But they were the ones that, in our time, were the ones that went and won, big trophies. But they would just have regular chats with you. So I think this is absolutely beautiful that we've been able to do this. And, just earlier realizing it was right at the front because when they've unveiled it and everything, and I think it's absolutely beautiful that we can have it there. It goes back in terms of the history. And what I like about this is, when you look at the club, when we go to recruit players, we recruit players who have obviously technical ability, they have a personality, and when you think of those players, that's what they were. And Summerby, when I'm around him, the stories he gives you is that personality on and off the field. Obviously off the field nowadays, but it gives you these stories, and you just want to be around him because you just he's got you in stitches, and you just think. Absolutely brilliant that he's achieved what he's achieved, but I think it's absolutely brilliant that they've done this.
Yeah, it's very, very special. Yeah. And Steve, it's quite an obvious one, but particularly maybe even for young people who's watching as well, and you touched upon it, Paul, we of course know we all focus on the present and we're always even looking to the future as well when we talk about our academy, but how important is it that we do never forget our past and where we've come from and who helped us get there?
I think it's hugely important. I think obviously you've got fans of the club that have been fans all their lives, and obviously they'll have, I suppose, maybe videos. You look at that, I mean, there's no videos now, but obviously they could get their kids or their grandkids to say, look at this, because you can obviously see it on social media or YouTube or stuff like that. And it's so important that to sort of say, look how good he was. Yes, you've got the players of now, but look how good they were. And I think just looking at the players and how good they really were. Look at the pitches that they played on.
Yeah.
I mean, they were absolutely horrendously bad. But yet the ability, the control, everything about them, the movement, how they're, it's so easy to be slipping and sliding on there, but they just, all three of them just gracefully went across the pitch. And I think just things like that, when kids look at football pitches to see what it is now, which is just like perfect.
Yeah.
And they weren't back in the day. And they still played the game can you imagine what they've been like to play on these kind of pitches?
I know. My granddad says that he'd love to see these three in this City team as well. But it's a beautiful way to start the show. And as I say, tonight is all about those three legends there, Mr. Colin Bell, Francis Lee and Mike Summerby, as well as the RB Leipzig game. Speaking of, we need team news. So let's head over to FG, who's outside the statues for the whole show. How are we lining up tonight, FG?
Yes, welcome back to Outside the Statue here at the Etihad Stadium. It's time to reveal the Manchester City team amongst all of the madness that's happening here. In goal is going to be Ortega Moreno. The captain today is Kyle Walker. Then it is Manuel Akanji, Ruben Diaz and Josko Vardiol. Rodrigo starts, as does Rico Lewis, with Bernardo Silva, Phil Foden, Jack Grealish and Erling Haaland. The substitutes for Manchester City are Ederson, Scott Carson, Calvin Phillips, John Stones, Nathan Ake, Jeremy Doku, Julian Alves, Sergio Gomez and Oscar Bob. Joining me outside the statue as we see the players coming behind us, it's Andy Morrison. Andy, we've seen the starting 11. A start for Ortega today, but also a start for Rico Lewis. How important and how great has he been?
It's been magnificent. I don't think it's any surprise now. We're not like, he's giving Rico another game. It's not. He's an established player now. And it's just great that we see how far he's come with the England performance in such a short period of time.
Absolutely. Now, you're probably wondering why we're outside and the players are coming out from this angle, and it is so they can take a look at the statues behind us. We're seeing the manager Pep Guardiola come over with his coaching staff. The players are about to get off the bus and we're going to capture the reaction. It's a special statue, isn't it, Andy?
Absolutely magnificent. Yeah, it's first time I've seen it today, and it really is overwhelming. It's magnificent.
As we see behind us in the background, we see Rodri coming out and we can see a smile on his face. Ruben Diaz there as well with Nathan Ake, and they're just in awe, aren't they, Andy?
Yeah, exactly. It's it's just the respect they're showing for three legends of the club, and it really is impressive, really is.
And the way Manchester City are honouring the players as well, this is a massive part of it as well. Making them get off the bus a little bit and giving the players a chance. We've seen on social media all across City channels and the players' channels that they've all acknowledged this statue, and they are all in awe as expected.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's right. Some people will say it's taken a bit of time for it to come, but it's there now. It's magnificent. We have the statues on the other side of the stadium, and it's an admiration for the great players that play for this club.
It is lovely to see just behind us how in awe these players are. You can see all the fans around us as well. This is a pre-match to dream of, isn't it, Andy?
Yeah, it is, and it's Champions League. It's a fantastic occasion again tonight with a chance to qualify for the final 16 as the table toppers, and it's going to make for a special evening.
It is indeed. Now let's talk about that team that we've got. We've just seen the lineup for you guys. We spoke about Rico Lewis, the importance of him. Do you think he's going to be alongside Rodri today?
I think Rico will drift into there. Yeah, we've seen that so many times now.
As we see Erling Haaland in awe of the statue, as well as Manu Akanji.
Yeah, brilliant.
As well. You can just always hear the noise, can't you, when Erling Haaland...
Yeah, but what you'll always see with Erling, he's always smiling. He gets off the bus, he's just got this big, like a kid going to his first game of football. It's brilliant to see.
And Kyle Walker as well, Jack Grealish, how much it'll mean to them. Jack always looking cool, great to see him back. Missed the last game, of course. He's super important, isn't he, to us, and he's a fantastic player.
He has, and he's... I think at times we see the importance of him. Sometimes you don't appreciate somebody until they're not in the team. They come back in and you can see what he brings in every game he plays.
Absolutely. And let's talk about that front three. It looks like it's going to be Jack Grealish, Erling Haaland, Phil Foden. Is that what we're going with?
Yeah, possibly. We've seen a few times where Bernardo perhaps has drifted and Foden's come inside. I don't know, but it'll be rotations, there'll be movements, and if the rhythm's right, it'll be hard to stop because that's an exceptional team.
And of course, a point tonight potentially will see us top in the group. It's super important in this competition, isn't it, to win the group?
Of course it is. I think it's important for, I was thinking about this on the way in, for Manchester City you're expected to win everything. You know, there's a public inquest if they don't win a game of football now, you know, so whatever game we go into, whether it's domestic or whether it's Champions League, we're expected to win now, and that's what, you know, that's the pressure that goes along with it.
Well, let's hope there is no public inquest today. Andy Morrison, thank you so much for joining us. I'll tell you what, the vibes out here are absolutely immaculate, and hopefully it's going to be a loud Etihad today, so let's head back to the studio.
Nice one, FG. Vibes out there are immaculate, vibes in here are also immaculate. Let's get into that starting 11 then, and Paul, when it was announced, you kind of just said that's taking no prisoners there for Pep tonight.
That's strong, considering we've qualified already, but I think it just shows, and Andy said it there, shows the importance of finishing top. You know, Pep said all along, even previous seasons, finish top as quick as you can in the Champions League. I know we've still got a game left, gives them the possibility away in Belgrade to rest some players with the busy schedule coming up before Christmas. But yeah, they're slightly surprised with how strong he's went, but saying great to see Rico in there, you know, after his performance for England, and great to see Jack back as well, and just hope Jack can get a run of games now to start getting his rhythm back, because I thought he was great at Old Trafford. He's been great since he came back in. Took him a little bit of time after his injury, but then the illness at the weekend, you know, and has set him back a little bit. But that front three, Foden, Haaland, and then Grealish is one of the best in Europe. Yeah, it really is indeed. Rico Lewis, Shaun as well as player, you know, obviously you've kind of gone through working with all sort of age groups as well throughout the club for a while. Just what have you made of obviously the England debut, but then of course him, you know, I think he started every Champions League game, so it shows the trust there from Pep. Yes, mature beyond his years. I mean, he's a real quality player. He goes in there and you just think there's going to be some errors and mistakes, but he's just got this experience, and every time he plays, it's just as though he's been there for years. And I'm quite intrigued because I'm looking at not only him, but I'm thinking he's never really played Walker inside. He's always typically looked for Walker to push up or be as a three, if that. But I think Rico will be alongside Rodri, and so it's sort of who goes inside as well. But yeah, he's had. I think it's been absolutely brilliant. He's a humble guy, player that wants to learn. Does well, wants to do well, and I anticipate him playing well again. And it's brilliant to see him playing for England, getting his debut, and again, not putting a foot wrong and looking really good there as well. Yeah, it doesn't look out of place at all. Another player who kind of didn't really look out of place, particularly at the weekend, and we might do a little focus on him later on in the show, but Akanji, Steve. Obviously, I think Pep's spoken about as well just how impressed he has been with, in particular this season, stepping into that John Stones role. I wondered, obviously, the position you know so well. What have you made of Akanji, particularly this season? I mean, last season blew everyone away, but now he's settled as well. He seems to be going up a gear almost. Yeah, I mean, I think the ways that you look at it is the manager will only put a player in there who he absolutely trusts. I mean, I think there was mentioned something about Kyle Walker earlier in the season, about a position that he couldn't possibly play in and stuff like that. But that is a difficult position because all of a sudden, from being a centre half, when you can see all of the picture, now you're not. You're in the middle. You don't know what's behind you. You don't know what's the side of you. Yes, you can have that quick little look, but all of a sudden that changes. You know, this kind of the noise from the players or the noise from the fans is different because normally he'll not be used to man on or anything like that. Because normally you're just used to like, well, I know I haven't got a man on because the only person behind me is the goalkeeper. Yeah. So for him to make that sort of move into there was absolutely fantastic, and how well he done. I mean, I don't think people can appreciate how, as I said, how difficult it is. But for him to go in there and actually perform the way that he did, even I was surprised. Listen, I thought he was absolutely magnificent last season, and I think he's a very good player. I mean, look, how much? What was he? 15 million? 15 mil, yeah. I mean, wow. But to him to play in that position and do so well at it, the manager must have had great faith. But the managers obviously looked at that and thought, yeah, I've done right there because you know he is a perfect option if the team need to move around and do other things. Yeah, cheeky once again with an unbelievable signing there, an acquisition. One player as well who I also thought was unbelievable at the weekend, we didn't get a chance to focus on it enough for me, in our Liverpool game, was Bernardo Silva. I know Doku got given man of the match in the stadium, some other players elsewhere, which I couldn't quite believe.
but Bernardo Silva, his energy, but also the positions he showed up in, really has kind of... We're always a bit worried when De Bruyne steps off, Paul, but it does feel that Bernardo's got us, all right, I've got you. And in big games, he always delivers. Amazing.
He does. Look, they're all big games, but you've just took the words out of my mouth. Even a couple of seasons ago when Kevin was injured, Bernardo Silva was the one player, but it's as if they said, you know what, I'm going to have to step up here, I'm going to have to be the main man. And he's done it again this season. You know, at Old Trafford, he was sensational.
Yeah.
Covers every blade of grass, but his technique, his touch, his game knowledge. I think Pep said he's probably the only player in the team that could play in any position. He said his football knowledge is one of the best that he's ever seen. But yet again, at the weekend, big game, Liverpool at home. I think he's the one. I think he takes the game by the scruff of the neck when Kevin's not there. So I think he feels that maybe some of the other players need that to happen to get them going again. And 9 times out of 10 with the ball, but especially without the ball, his energy, he's the trigger that goes to set off the high press. And wherever he plays, you know, he's played as a false 9, he's played in front of the back 4, he's played left back.
Yeah.
He played wide left, he's played wide right. And not talking about Akanji, the trust, it just shows you how much that Pep trusts him. But he's a world-class player.
Couldn't agree more. I also do think we really know it's just the energy levels. They're still always high, but they're always a little bit lower when Bernardo's not on the pitch. Stefan Ortega comes in. Fredison from the weekend was reading some really great bits for him with an interview he gave earlier on, just talking about how the move to City came about. It was between City and Brentford, and then he chose City in the end. But another great acquisition, and you know, maybe you'd say he's his number 2, but doesn't feel like a number 2, does he, Shaun? And rightly so, should be playing tonight.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a number 2 is brilliant, because we're having a discussion, and not once throughout I know it's early on, but we've not even talked about, wow, different keeper. And we just don't at City, and the reason because his quality.
Yeah.
He comes in, his distribution is excellent, his shot stopping is brilliant, his positioning, his calmness on the ball is brilliant. And when he plays, I have no fear. I'm just like, it's just normal business as normal. So yeah, I'm pleased for him that he's in, and I just feel like Addison's in as well.
Yeah,
he really is just a sound goalkeeper, and I find it amazing because I know outfield's a different thing, but I needed to run a games. Like, you know, if I come in for 1 game or 2 games, I'm like I need a couple games. But it's amazing how they're able to come in and perform so well, and every time he's been called upon to be in. He does a superb job.
Just a quick one on that one is,
Steve.
As a player, we all know goalkeepers are a different breed. I mean, they're different.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but there's something about them that are different. I mean, who would spread themselves and let somebody hit the ball as hard as they can against the body? You know, I mean, obviously defender, you want to, but you kind of, but they are different. But it just goes to show when he's more or less sort of saying he didn't feel like a number 2. That group, because the goalkeepers normally train away from the rest of the group, but that group, that camaraderie must be absolutely superb, because every team I've been into, you pretty much knew who was number 1 and you pretty much knew who was number 2 and number 3. So for him to come and say that just says everything about that group.
Yeah.
We done the podcast a few weeks ago with him.
Yes.
He was unbelievable. And I asked him about his mentality, about, obviously, wasn't being disrespectful, Ederson looks as if he's going to play. And he said, I train myself to be as if I'm number 1 every single day. He says, before I go out, and he spoke about Scott Carson, Richard Wright, obviously Ederson, the group that they've got there. He said, and we all feel when we train as if we're the number 1 goalkeeper. And he said, especially me, because I feel that, likes of tonight, a few weeks ago when he comes in, he said, I have to believe I'm the number 1 to go in and perform like I do.
Of course, yeah.
He said, and even if I do come out for 5 or 6 games, the 5 or 6 games I'm training every single day as if I'm the number 1.
Yeah.
He said, and that's his psyche, that's how he gets his head around it. And, you know, as we all know, he's a great goalkeeper, but to have that mentality is something special.
And I guess actually it's that mentality, I guess it's not even Ortega. I bet, you know, you're chatting to Kovacic, but it does seem across the board, is that one of this squad's greatest assets, is the individual and squad mentality then, Shaun?
I think it is, and this is why, you know, the team has been so successful, along with the tactics and having the best manager in the world. But they know that when I'm called upon, they look around the dressing room, I'm not letting no one down. I don't want to be the weak link. You look around and go, wow, the last 2 games, they've been doing it, they've been winning and playing well, performing well, and now I'm called upon, like, I need to carry it on. And not only just carry it on, but can I take it to another level, so that when they are called upon again, it's like, okay, Shaun's taking it there, I'm taking it there. So I just think it's the mentality, and I think that's the culture that Pep has developed, because you can get a bunch of players, but I think that's something that he demands from them, and it's now in them. Obviously, seasons after winning things, I think it's just in their psyche now.
Yeah, it really is. One player as well who seems that his kind of mentality and maturity is beyond his years was new signing in the summer, Josko Guardiola, of course, coming up, some very familiar faces tonight. Well, he was joined by Pep for his pre-match conference, so we can hear what Josko had to say, and we'll do a little focus as well on him. Here he is now with FG, playing a little bit of FIFA as well, I believe.
I'm with Josko and we're about to play an exhibition game against RB Leipzig, which is Dani Olmo and Ebru. Ready to go?
I'm ready.
Let's go.
Okay, I have to teach you how to do the gritty.
The gritty?
Yeah. You know how it works? You have to flick the right stick 3 times to the top. It's a good celebration.
Wish you good luck. Good luck.
Okay, good luck.
You too, guys. Right, let's go. Yeah, nice try. It's fine. Have Yusuf. There you go. Okay.
Oh, what a goal.
Wait, the gritty.
Yes. Yeah. Nice goal.
Go. Get in there. Okay, you play like this, huh? Okay.
I don't even know how to celebrate. Jeremy.
This was lucky.
Half time 1-1. We're actually happy.
No problem. We're just playing now. Now we play serious.
Yeah, we're the same. We're the same.
Let's go! So lucky with the deal.
Yes! What a turn by Erling.
Can't believe we're losing at all the chances.
Bro, just relax now. We can keep this ball for 8 minutes. Relax.
Yes.
Yeah!
Okay, important.
It's a draw, bro. It's a good result.
So
We're
that's
away.
it, huh?
It's not fair.
It's a good result.
You were luck.
It's a great result.
You see, when you're happy with the 2-2, it says everything already.
So that was Dani Olmo there for RB Leipzig, of course, taking on Guardiola and FG in a FIFA game, finishing 2-2. There was a great bit there where FG said, just relax, we can keep the ball for 8 minutes. If you ever go back, look how stressed and tense FG is after he said that. And so we're going to blame FG. But let's talk about the man he was playing with, Steve. Josko Guardiola, 21 years old, 13 starts for us already. At left-back, obviously, was centre-half for RB Leipzig. But what have you made of his impact on the City team so far from what you've seen?
I think he's a great player, don't get me wrong, but I think one thing that kind of springs to mind for me when I watch him play is aggressive, but in the best possible way. He's not going to be beaten. He will not let anybody shove him off the ball.
Yes.
But obviously he's got very good distribution, reads the game very well. Yes, he had a few years at Leipzig. I think I read something he sort of said along the lines of that helped him progress. But he had to move on, and he's now in the best league in the world, which is the Premier League. But then he's got to step up again, and he has done. Because again, if you come to a big club, and not even if you're like a seasoned pro, to come into a team like Manchester City, particularly, you've got to hit the ground running.
Yes.
Because otherwise, I mean, how many times have we seen players come with good sort of, shall we say, prospects and not do anything about it. But he's come in and he's been absolutely fantastic. I think Dickie mentioned something a couple of weeks ago. I think, was it Kovacic?
Yeah.
Mentioned something about him, and that just says absolutely everything. I'm pretty sure Dickie will tell you the story. But when you get someone like Kovacic saying that about a player, that player must be delighted, because that's great praise.
What was that praise?
It basically started off saying he is going to be the, not just best centre-half or left-back, he said the best defender in the world.
Wow.
He said he thinks he's a generational talent already. He said, but for generations, as in Croatian football, he said, we've always been known for technical, like Modric, midfielders, Suker, forwards and everything else. He said, but defensively, it's always been our biggest letdown. He says, but he, at the age of 21, has already changed how Croatians are training their youngsters.
Wow.
They said they're using him as the example. That's how good they think he is. He said, so just not for now. They said, but for the next 10, 15, 20, 25 years, he thinks he's going to have a major impact on how Croatian players are developed.
What some of the attributes, well, I've been to both of you, what are the attributes you've seen that kind of already will have, let Kovacic give him such high praise?
Well, you got to be intelligent, because you can, as a defender, if you don't have intelligence, you can go in too far, too fast and get beaten. You can be going to ground, getting beaten. But he has an intelligence of understanding how close to get to put you under pressure, put the player under pressure, that doesn't allow them to have an easy pass. And if he's able to have a nibble, if he's there to be aggressive, then he's aggressive. But I think one of his best things is he's somebody that doesn't get beat. I'm saying that now, but probably be one of those tonight where he gets beat once.
Yeah.
But I think he's really intelligent and understands that, even in 2v1s, it's like, I'm going to give you that, but I'm not going to give you this. I'm going to delay till some support comes, and then I'm going to come and deal with you and narrow your options down. But he's just an intelligent player. And, the fact, Pep's got him in, he plays left back, he plays centre half. Best manager in the world has got you because you're a good player.
Yeah.
And I think Pep is stretching, and he stretches every player, because he's not looking for just the basics in a position. I just don't want you to be an ordinary left back. I want you to be a left back that perhaps goes up but also comes inside. I need you to be a centre half that steps into midfield and don't just step into midfield, but can you go further up and become a 10? And so is those sort of things that are stretching him. But it makes a lot of sense that, you talk about him being one of the great defender in years to come, because right now he's got, I think, is one of the most important things as a defender is don't be easily beaten. And we see with other teams, and some defenders who are good, but you go, he's just sold himself. And I know you must be looking at telly sometimes, watching other defenders and thinking, what are you doing? You just allow the attacker to have an advantage because you've gone to ground. And he has that intelligence about him to go, no, gets in, gets low, gets good shape on to stand him where he wants to, gets nibbles. Really intelligent player.
Also, as well, there's them going forward as well, which I think we've only seen the tip of the iceberg. Because I know I think when he was younger was an attacking player, but some of his technical ability we've seen already, in the way he almost glides up the pitch pretty effortlessly. He does almost look like a Rolls Royce of an attacking defender as well already. Steve, dare I say?
He does, but then again, I think for a player, if you're a young player at a club, and you've got to say, probably the best manager in the world wants you, that must do you so much wow, so much pride in yourself. But not only that, you've got to now show it. I mean, you see a lot of defenders, and I know the game's changed, but I think that's obviously because of Pep, how the game's changed.
Yes.
Back in the day, centre halves used to, or full backs, we used to have an overlapping full back, but centre halves in particular, they go past the halfway line and they'd get a nosebleed. They don't want it, they get the running back as quick as they can. He, like the rest of the defenders, certainly we've said sort of Akanji and Stones and himself, they look so comfortable in those advanced positions. But as Coach was sort of saying, basically, well, he is a defender. That's your job. Now do that first, then do the other things. But his job, he's done superbly well. I mean, as a player, if you're playing against him, you're shouting across to the other side to your mates, can we swap? Because you don't want to play against them. And then you'll swap, and then you're playing against them like Kyle Walker, that you're not running. So they'll be shouting to each other, can we swap? Can we swap? Because they don't want to play. They don't want to play against players like Kyle with these pace, but obviously the aggressiveness and how very, very good of a defender it is, because that's an art.
Yes.
It's an art form, being a very good defender.
The art of defending. Lovely stuff. Let's take a slight pause then from chat about tonight's game and go back to the other important focus of tonight, which is where, of course, we are celebrating 3 Manchester City legends. We've had a beautiful new statue unveiled. Personally as well, I know Khaldoon has been massively involved in making this happen for Francis Lee, Colin Bell and Mr. Mike Summerby, and we can hear a little bit more from Mike now.
Mike, how does it feel to have this tribute?
Well, it's quite amazing, really. It's such a big club through the years, and this is the first time it's ever been. There are some head and shoulders of former players, but this is an honour, really, to be involved with Colin and Francis in this situation.
You mentioned Colin and Francis there. how does it feel to be alongside two great friends?
Well, it's like playing. You know, you're involved with people that have played football for years, but also they were great players. Representing the country, they were great players, and they gave out 100% for Manchester City when they were no problem to it.
And it must be great knowing that your legacy will live on forever. You know, your legacy, but the whole team.
It's not an easy question, that, but the thing is, it's you know, as I said, I've repeated myself again. It's a team effort. So everybody was involved in this team and it was successful at that particular time. So really, it's to be part of that, live on for a long time. Because I've been finished a long time, and the team's been finished a long time, but still people are talking. I'm being here interviewed by you, which is a privilege anyway. Thank you very much.
Perfect. And one last thing, who do you think is going to win tonight? City, Leipzig?
Tonight?
Yeah.
I'm very confident.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Have a good day.
So that was taken from live this morning when the statue was unveiled. I can imagine a real mix of emotions there for Mike. We touched upon at the start of the show, Paul. I mean, someone you know very well in his ambassador role for the club as well. I mean, even there, 452 City apps. That's the 8th most of any player in our history, along with 68 goals to go with. Before we talk about the man, can we talk about Mike as a player? You know, what was he like as a player, and what did he bring to that generation of talent?
A lot of quality, a lot of pace. You know, me and Steve both played with his son Nicky. Mm-hmm. You know, Nicky won't mind me saying maybe not as good as his dad, but very, very similar. As in, you know, the delivery, half a yard out foot, great ball in. You know, and he was tough, Mike, as well. He was tenacious. He didn't mind a tackle. I mean, he's told us a few stories about some of the tackles that he used to go into. He used to say it was like dog eat dog. First minute, he knew the full-back was going to absolutely rattle him. He said so he used to try and get in there first and leave 6 studs down his shin first and everything else. But that was either. They were all tough guys and how they done it. But he's such a character off the pitch. I think his play on the pitch reflected that as well. You know, just that little bit at the end when the reporters asked him, so who's going to win tonight, Man City or Leipzig? I thought Mike was going to knock him out. You see the look that he gave him straight away. But the same, you know, speaking to Mike about the statue, he's immensely proud and humble about it. And obviously his love for the club is there for everybody to see. But there's a little tinge of sadness that Colin and Francis weren't there to celebrate it with him.
No, well, I think we're going to hopefully hear though from some of their family members a little bit later on in the show. Even there though as well, and it was even touched upon, I think, in the film about the statues, the selfless nature of them and the humbleness. And even then, when he was saying, he just kept coming back to it was the team, and I think that says everything about, well, probably all three of them, but also something that hopefully has lived on in City's DNA, the togetherness, and it's all about the team, not the individual.
Well, of course it's about the team, you know, because not one person wins the game.
Yeah.
Yes, that one person might score the winning goal or stuff like that, but that doesn't come about if the other 10 are not on the pitch.
Yes.
But again, as I said, I think that shows the mark of the man, where he has said it time and time again about, yes, we've got the statue and it's absolutely well deserved, but obviously that team at that particular time was amazing. You know, and when you've got 3 great players like that, I mean, the entertainment that they were given. I mean, you know, I've been on pitches when I've just sometimes just thought how lucky I might be on the pitch with this person, that person, and the other one. And you stand back and you're thinking, wow, you know, I'm blessed to have these. And I'm pretty sure the players that they played with will be thinking the same when they're looking at them 3 in their team. Mm-hmm. But they know they've got the value as well.
Yes, yeah.
And it's nice when you get the players that are the star players, if you want, that actually say them things. Because otherwise, you know, if you've got one of them players that's it's all about me, then the team breaks down.
Yeah, it really does. You can feel that straight away, can't you? And that's something that particularly now in the City current team we know is, you know, not really accepted. Back to Mike though, Shaun, as well. I mean, you'll have met him when you obviously joined the club, and obviously still around now as well. I think people will know, but if you don't, I mean, he's still got such an integral role to play in the club. He's at most games, does a lot of events. His work hasn't stopped, has it really?
Yeah, well, you know, for me, he embodies, you know, what you look for in an ambassador. He's just an humble person. You ever get to sit down and chat with him, he's just really humble. And I think, you know, when the club look for and have ambassadors, this is what they look for. And he's that sort of person. And again, you know, on the field, what he did was absolutely brilliant. And the toughness those guys had at that time was, you know, you look at the pictures, as Steve said, the pictures are horrendous, but these guys are jumping tackle, riding tackles, putting tackles in, as Paul said, because they know they've got to get theirs in first. But I just think it's great that we've honoured these guys, and it's right at the front, and it goes right back. So any little kid, around the world that comes, because our fans are global, that comes to the Etihad and watches a game, and they can ask questions. They know it goes, all the way back, and these guys were sort of they won everything, back then. So it's absolutely brilliant.
Just a quick one on Mike. I was very fortunate to meet him. And the very first time I met him, when I'd just signed for Manchester City, and of course I'm meeting Mike Summerby, and I'm not a person that kind of gets in awe of anybody, not that many anyway, and I was of him because I knew how good he was and that Man City team was collectively and individually. But I have to say, even though he was so good as a player, he was just such a beautiful man because he made me feel so welcome straight away. I was thinking, wow, that's Mike Summerby. He came across, hi Stephen, how are you doing? I'm thinking, he knows my name.
Yeah.
But it was just like, as family settled down, I would say you're looking to live, give us little kind of tips about feeling the crowd, be part of it. Don't be like kind of coming here and playing as an individual and stuff like that. Get Manchester City. I mean, his advice was absolutely wonderful. And I still see him now if I'm coming down working in different things. And he's still absolutely brilliant. I mean, what a lovely man. As I said, a fantastic player, wonderful player. But for me personally, a better man.
A better man. Beautiful stuff. Thank you, gents. Well, we're going to hear more about the other two legends on that statue a little bit later on. But let's head back to the statues live. FG's outside of them, and he can now bring us the team news from RB Leipzig. This is who we're coming up against tonight.
Yes, welcome back to Matchday Live from the statue. It's time to reveal the RB Leipzig team as I'm joined by Umut and Ebru. The Leipzig team is as follows. In goal is Blaswich, and then it is Simakan, Hidara and the captain Forsberg, Zeewald, Klosterman, Opender, Simons, Raum, Lukeba and Schlager. The substitutes are on the screen for you all to see. We'll start with you, Ebru. Thank you for joining us. First things first, you've seen the starting 11. Who are you most excited to see for Leipzig today?
Yeah, I have to say we have Xavi. He's like kind of turning from a youngster to a superstar. He's at the moment in a really good form. Yeah, I think he can make some accents in the game. Yeah.
And of course, I know you're going to be really upset about Benny Hendricks, aren't you? I know he's your brother, we see it on social media. If you follow him on any of his socials, he's not in the starting 11, but you're hoping to see him at some point today.
I hope he gets in, I hope he will score. I'm really sad. He's the best player for Leipzig in my opinion, to be honest, so it's sad that he's not playing, but the coach have any reason, maybe he's injured, I don't know. So, but still I hope Leipzig will win, but of course we will see.
Let's talk about the game last year, Ebru. It was a massive result for Manchester City in our favour at the Etihad after a close game in Germany. Do you think that result plays a part for some of these players who were perhaps playing last season?
I think not anymore. I mean, it's a new team. They're good in the Bundesliga at the moment, and it's a new day in Manchester. I hope it's a better game today.
I want to ask you about Josko Vardiol as well, a former Leipzig player. He was treated so well by your fans in Germany. How do you feel about Josko?
Yeah, he was a crazy player. He is a crazy player. It's sad to lose him to City, but of course, it's normal. He wants to join one of the best clubs in the world. City is one of the best clubs, so it's just a great future for him to be in Manchester. And I think it's really nice for him to play here.
He's featured a lot at left back for us. Do you think he could play there fully, or did you enjoy watching him play in the centre for Leipzig? Josko Vardiol.
I have to say he's good at every position. He's a very strong defender, and I like him when he's coming from the defense to the offense. So it's at every position very good.
And of course, RB Leipzig, Manchester City, they've both already qualified. So this game should be a free hit. It should be both teams going for it. Do you think that's the way it's going to be?
Yeah, I hope, but of course it's important for both teams. I think you want to be first, you want to win every game. So and of course the opponent in the last game will be easier if you're first. So I think both teams will play really serious, and I think it will be an open game for both.
Let me grab a score prediction from you, Ebru. How do you see the game going? Because you predicted it correctly before on Matchday Live. So how do you see the game going?
I say today it's a 2-2.
A 2-2. And what do you think?
6-0 for Leipzig.
Okay, well, what we're going to do before we head back is we're going to talk about what Umut was doing yesterday. You were involved in FC Pro. I had the pleasure of watching you firsthand. You were involved in a load of games of FC 24, and every single game this guy was in, there was about 20 goals. But you did really well, and you had a great start. How do you feel like you did, and how you're looking forward to the second round of matches?
Yeah, my offense was really good, but defense was bad. But at the end, like, the points are that what counts. So I think I performed really well. 1 draw, 3 wins. Couldn't start better. So I'm happy. But of course, we have a second week of group stage, and this is the main part. So I think I will just like focus on that, and inshallah I can go through.
And Ebru, last thing, I've seen you got gloves on. It's a lot colder in Manchester today, isn't it? What do you think about the Manchester weather?
So I was here one time with Hamed. It was the weather was bad, and yeah, this time it's okay. I mean, it's not raining like last time. I mean, it's every time cold here in Manchester.
Yeah, it is.
It's better.
It is very, very cold, but I'll tell you where it's not very cold, and that is in the studio with Kel. So let's head back to the studio. Thank you guys for speaking to us. I hope you have a great evening, but obviously not too great, of course. Let's go back to the studio.
Nice one, FG. So there we have it. There is our RB Leipzig team news. If you've just joined us, our starting 11 is on the bottom of your screen. It seems as well from there, Paul. You know, they're going for it just as much as well. Some big names on their team sheet tonight.
Yeah, they are. Look, they gave us a decentish game over there. We were 1-0 up, then they scored just after half time. And caused us a few problems up until Julian Alvarez got a second goal, and then it was quite comfortable after that. But they're a good team. They're seasoned campaigners now in the Champions League. You know, we've met them a few times. Apenda up top, who scored against us over there, is a really good player. And I really like the young kid, Xavi Simons, who's on loan from PSG. You know, and, was a wonder kid when he first went to PSG. He had to go out and loan, and Leipzig seemed to be getting the best out of him. So it's going to be a tough game. You know, as I said, they're a strong Bundesliga team. They're qualifying for the Champions League season after season. So it'll be a tough game, but I fully expect the team we've got out. You know, if you look at both teams up against each other, I fully expect the quality we've got to go on and win, but it won't be. I can't see it being another 7-0. I would love it to be 7-0 again. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, be a tough game for us.
Be a tough game, Shaun. The setup from RB Leipzig, obviously, every team kind of is going to change the way they play, particularly when they come to the Etihad. Do you think it is going to be a case of what we're used to seeing from our opponents at the Etihad, probably sitting back and trying to hit us maybe with a bit of speed on the counter?
I think it's a brilliant question, because the odd time when I've watched, this manager, I think he's a front foot manager, and he's wanting his team to be expressive, be on the front foot. But you're coming against Man City, and you can't be a fool. You've got to sort of respect you're coming up against the best. So I imagine there'll be a team that probably have a mid block, and because they'll still want to try to impose themselves in some way, but there'll still be somewhat of a stain. If I've lost to Man City, 3-1 at home and 7-0, last season, I think I'd have a lot more cautiousness about my approach. So I think there'll be, I don't think it'll be a low block, but I think there'll be sort of a mid block, and you hope that they can sort of win balls and spring forward. But I think it's more about what they do as a collective rather than, maybe some individuals like Xavi, etc., that can create little moments. I think it's about what they do as a group, because again, the way City play, we can take you down one side and then go and expose you over the other side.
I mean, there's this contest for wanting to finish top, which of course is between these two. So I guess that will be an added incentive for them as much as it is for City. And when you have got players such as Simons, who obviously they've said there is almost turning into now a kind of another generational talent, we're going to have to make sure on our A game tonight, Steve.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why the manager's picked a strong team, a very strong team. And I think the Leipzig players will look at that and think, wow, that is a strong team. He might be thinking, listen, we're both qualified, and might be able to take it. Pep might rest a few players, but he hasn't. I think they'll be wanting to try and keep the game quiet for the first 10-15 minutes, and then maybe build from there.
Yep.
But the plans go out the window if City score really early. Of course, they'll have expectations themselves. They'll want to see if they can come here, and really it would be an upset. But me personally, I can't see it. But yeah, I mean, look, they've got talented players. They'll want to be basically putting on a great performance in front of Pep.
Yes.
Because they'll be thinking, I could be here, I could get myself here.
Radar.
As you say, I put myself in the shop window. You know, so they'll want to put on an individual performance. And they'll be thinking, you know, probably Pep might like this if I track back here or do this or do that. Sometimes that's how players' minds work.
Yeah.
Now, listen, I think it will be a difficult game, but it depends how the game starts. I think the nose time goes on, Man City will probably just wear them down. But listen, they've got a great opportunity to try and advance their careers and putting on a fantastic performance.
Yeah.
I think you're saying there, Kel, as well about who's going to finish top. I think, you know, when the group stages were done, Leipzig would have snapped your hands off for second place.
Yes, yeah,
you know, and I think they'll be coming here tonight, probably playing with a little bit of freedom, but not too much because they get battered 7 last season. And I know Shaun's saying the manager likes to go and press. They tried to do that the first 25 minutes, and I think they're 3-0 down before they get it. Yeah. And then before you know it, it's 4 and 5, and a lot of the players that are playing tonight were playing in that game as well. So they'll know exactly what this team can do to you.
Yeah.
So they will be a little bit wary about it. But if they don't get anything here tonight, nobody's really expecting that as well. So I can see them playing with a little bit of freedom at times, but I think they'll be low defensive block and with the back of their heads what happened last season, because it was 7, it could have been 15.
And
it was ridiculous.
Sorry, Steve.
Sorry, as Dickie was sort of saying there, listen, it's great to have the intention of press. But it's no good if 1 or 2 or 3's doing it. It's got to be everybody. Because the Man City are that good that if one of their players switches off and doesn't do it, they just go bang, 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 out, and then they're wide open. So, as I said, if they want to play that game, then you've got to be at it. I don't think the probably will. I think we'll just, as Dickie said, the low block and think we'll just try and break us down here.
Yeah, and get it to one of them key players as well that was mentioned there before with FG in here in the studio. Also, in the pre-match conference, Guardiola was asked, because he played in that 7-0 and his response was, I'm actually trying to forget about that. So
As you would.
As you would indeed. Right, shall we play a game? Let's get stuck into Mystery Blue. So if you come online and see us just before we go live, we put our first clue of who our Mystery Blue is. So you can see it now. We're going to bring you 3 clues throughout our shows, and then we'll reveal who it is at the end. Obviously, the guys in the studio playing along as well. Use the WhatsApp number to get involved, or you can use social media. So this was clue number 1 before you came to us in the studio. Oh, former Blues striker is a former teammate of many of our Matchday Live regulars. Okay, and straight away,
Goats.
It could be the Goats. Could
be. I was wearing that hairstyle back then.
Clue number 2. Then here we are. This is clue number 2. Does this help us out a bit? This player was the first signing of the late Franny Lee when he was chairman. Okay. Interesting, right. Some food for thought there. Already I can see a pensive look there on Steve and Paul. All right, well, you guys get mulling that over. As I say, we'll be bringing you a third clue a little bit later on, and then we'll be revealing who our Mystery Blue is in a little bit. Now, speaking of that second clue, Francis Lee, if you've just joined us, we've had a very special statue unveiled outside of the stadium celebrating 3 Manchester City legends, icons of our club who played such an integral part in our history. Colin Bell, Mike Summerby and Mr. Francis Lee. We've got a little documentary about the statues themselves, and on the other side of that we're going to hear from young Johnny Lee.
When I speak to people about them, they say how special they was for the club.
For me, they meant a lot.
Absolutely 3 legends of the football club.
He made the goal that made the cup possible.
How do we recognize the importance and significance of Colin, Francis and Mike?
Yes, welcome back to outside the Etihad and the famous statue. It's with great pleasure to say I am joined by a member of the Lee family, Johnny. 330 games, 148 goals and 8 seasons in Sky Blue for Franny Lee. Tell me exactly what this means to you.
Oh, it's we're immensely proud as a family, as you expect. It's obviously sad he can't be here with us tonight and today when we saw it, because he would have had some good banter with Mike about things, but he would have absolutely loved this, and he would also have loved all the other names of all the other players going on the plinth as well, because it wasn't just 3 of them; it was the whole group of them as well, and it was a real special group, and they like to play with flair, and I think that statue says a lot about that and the style of play they had as well. It's explosive, isn't it?
What are your memories then, in particular the relationship with you and Franny? What are the things that stick out?
Oh, with Dad, it was just constant like banter, winding each other up. Like him and Mike together were an absolute handful. Just you never knew what was real and what was fake, what they were talking about. It was just really fun, really special times.
And how important is it, of course, with the statue, this is going to give the opportunity for loads of the younger generation to learn exactly about your dad and about the team that was there. And it's just lovely, isn't it? It's iconic and it's going to be here forever.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a building part of the legacy at Man City, isn't it? And the evolution of an amazing club. And if kids can come here and ask their parents and grandparents, who are they, while they're looking at the players coming past us now, the modern day era, that's just linking all the magic moments together, isn't it?
It is indeed. Well, I have to ask you as well about Colin Bell and Mike Summerby. You've already said the relationship between your dad and Mike was a bit of a handful when they were together at times, but what are your memories of them as well?
Yeah, I mean, they're amazing players, aren't they? And they're all, like the statue shows, they're all very different, but they're together at the same time, all different styles. Mike was a fast winger, Dad like that, had his chest out, always wanted to get in the action, and then Colin was just, he's one of those generational players, isn't he? Box to box, just amazing engine, huge talent, and they all played for England in an era when they were world champions and at a time when it was very hard to break into an England team.
Well, on behalf of everyone at Manchester City, I would like to say a massive thank you to joining us on MATCHDAY Live, and a massive thank you to your family for being a huge part of history. Before we head back to the studio, we've got a game tonight. What are your predictions for the game tonight?
Well, I'm going to go with, there was a very special guy who came up to us today, and he's in a wheelchair, and he came up out really early in the morning and he just wanted to have a moment with the statue. I said, what was the score going to be tonight? And he says to me 3-1. So I'm going exactly with that, 3-1.
Well, hopefully you are right, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Cheers.
Let's head back to the studio.
Thank you, FG, and thank you to Johnny Lee there as well, outside of that beautiful statue. Shaun, I will come to you to begin with. Francis Lee's impact as well, obviously becoming chairman as well. Just talk to me just kind of about Francis Lee and memories for myself.
Well, the unfortunate thing for me is I never had too many encounters with Francis Lee, but again, the odd time of a passing, one actually wasn't to do anything to do with the club, but it was actually on holiday, getting on the same flight, and I'm turning right and he's turning left, and he says, "Keep working hard, son." But it's brilliant because this is them, their character, and this is why you'd always want to be around them, I didn't have too many engagements, connecting with them in their conversations, but you just got a sense of what he was like. But again, somebody that loved the club, gave everything for the club. Again, he's somebody that epitomizes the club with his heart and determination. And yeah, I think it's also brilliant for him as well.
Absolutely, and obviously echoed there with his son there. Steve, I've got a few bits here which about him saying, describing him as determined, competitive, and a fearless forward with a cannonball shot. I'm guessing someone you maybe wouldn't have liked to have come up against, possibly.
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, we've. As I said, I had to come up against the likes of him, who I was called a wasp, who was an absolute pain. But I mean, we've sort of seen him, using the term back in the day, but he was involved in some full-blown fights. Yeah. You've seen them. If anybody hasn't seen them, you've got to look them up. And that just goes to show the kind of temperament. But that was them as a collective group as well, because he might have been thinking, hold on a second, you're getting onto my player, so I'm going to do this because I'm one of the leaders of this team. But yeah, I mean, we all like a little bit of fighting spirit, but I think Franny sometimes was quite up there, and that's all for everybody to see as well.
Absolutely, and some of the goals as well were so key to some of the club's success during that incredible time when to be a City fan. Key when we won the league in 1968, and it was a vital goal in the final day in a 4-3 win over Newcastle, and then the following year as well, key goals in our FA Cup victory, which followed in 1969. He scored some massive goals on the way to the final. The start of the show, you mentioned, Paul, that was the phone call you got when you weren't actually going to sign for City. So I'd love to know, can you tell us about the call, but then when you got there, what was it he said to convince you to come to the club? And just another thing we've got to be thankful to Francis Lee for.
Yeah, I'd been to London Colney, the Arsenal training ground, to pick up my boots, and was driving down to Southampton, and I was in the car about 20 minutes, and Jordi Armstrong, God bless him, who was my reserve team manager at the time, he called me up and he said, look, he said, Graham Souness isn't going to like this, because he was the gaffer at Southampton at the time. He said, but he said, Francis Lee wants to speak to you. And I went, fair enough, Francis Lee. I remember coming up the season before as a squad player with Man City. It was a goal and Ian Wright scored and celebrated all in front of the Kippax. And I remember the Man City fans actually applauding Ian Wright off that day because he was sensational. And I'm sitting in the stand in the director's box, and the feel of the club, the fans and everything, I thought, this is great, this. So when Jordy said that Francis wanted to speak to me, I said, yeah, okay, I'll speak to him. Answered the phone. He said, Paul, Francis Lee. He said, I know you're on your way down. He said, just one thing. He said, let me get you up to Manchester and speak to you. He said, if it's not for you, he said, do what you want. He said, but at least just give me the opportunity to do it. And I thought, why not? So I turned around. This was the Thursday morning. Turned around, ended up going to Heathrow Airport. They booked my flight, flew up, met him at Mottram Home, signed that night.
Signed that night?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was bricking it to tell Graham Souness what I'd done. But it was just his whole, look, such a charismatic man, but his passion for the club shone through. So he kept trying to fill me up with champagne. This is the Thursday, we've got a game on the Saturday. I'm thinking, is he testing me here, or what's he doing here? But yeah, it was just a wonderful man. I mean, I know he had a little bit of stick sometimes when he was chairman, but always had the best interest at heart. And saying he's the reason I'm sitting here. Man City fans, the hero from that era was Georgie Conclatse. And the same thing again, you speak to Georgie, he would never have came to Man City at that time if it wasn't for the passion and hunger that the chairman, I still call him Mr. Chairman when I used to see him, because that's the respect I've got from had now. I seen his wife Jilly a couple of weeks ago actually, and I was asking her how she was and how's it been, and she said, look Paul, she said, we're all fine. She said, I just know Francis is sitting up there with a glass of champagne and the biggest cigar ever, looking down, looking over us all and still looking after us, and so as much as obviously the disappointment and the emotion of him passing, he had been ill for a while, which people didn't realise, and I think that all the family were just grateful that the times they had and the charismatic, the character, but what a wonderful man. Talking about Mike before, just not a fantastic player but a wonderful human being as well.
Absolutely. Beautiful tribute there, and of course as well we're sending all our love still to his family, and he'll be remembered now forever, and I'm sure there'll be many generations.
Just a quick one about the plane.
Yeah.
I got on a plane with him as well, and I had the fortunate but unfortunate experience of sitting next to him 2 hours in a flight to Faro, 6 o'clock in the morning, early flight. I walked off like that. Couldn't see I staggered all the way down, so he just kept filling me glass up all the way there. But yeah, what a man.
What a man, what a legend. Right, if you've just tuned in, we are of course celebrating these three men behind me, Mike Summerbee, Colin Bell and Francis Lee, who we've just heard some beautiful stories about as well, and the love and passion he shared for the club as well. We're going to be getting into the King, Colin Bell, in just a little bit. But as we know, whenever we have a Champions League night, our EDS are in action alongside our first team. So they were hoping to secure qualification, and guess what? They did just that. With a 2-1 win tonight over Leipzig, we can now hear from our manager, Brian Barry Murphy, and scorer of one of our goals, Josh Adam.
Brian, first of all, congratulations. We have topped the group and secured a second season of knockout football in the Youth League. How are you and the team feeling?
Well, I feel drained, so I can only imagine how the players feel. And they put so much effort into the game, really. I think they deserve to have that sense of euphoria at the end, because it was such a competitive and high-level game, really. I really enjoyed it.
What did Brian ask you to do in the game today against a tough RB Leipzig side?
The coach was just kind of said, get on the ball, do your stuff around the edge of the box, and hopefully we'll create chances and score goals. And I think I did that towards the second half end of the game, and I think it paid off.
The second half we came out with a lot more energy than what we'd shown in the first half. Was that what you had asked from them, to just be even more threatening on the attack?
Yeah, I think we just wanted to I used the phrase blow the cobwebs away in the first half, and then we really saw the best of our players in the second half, and we got the ball into Joel and Justin pretty quickly in the second half, and I thought they were outstanding in how they attacked the last line of Leipzig, and we created good chances then from midfield. And at this club we traditionally have very, very good wide players, and I thought the performance of Justin and Joel in the second half gave us that cutting edge to produce really excellent chances, which we eventually converted.
And a second successive season that we've qualified for the knockout stages. What does it mean to you and the squad to have that consistency?
It means everything. It just means we're the strongest team in the group again for the second year. Probably one of the strongest in the competition, so it's just good to keep going and winning games on the bounce.
Last season we were dismissed in the round of 16.
I remember. Thank you.
Sorry to bring it back for you. How are you looking to learn from last season going into the knockout stages this season?
I think very simply the games are so they're generally so finely balanced when you get to that stage that you have to prepare as best you can, and the players have to understand the difficult challenges they're going to face, and then you hope, like I said, that the work you've done or the experiences you've had will allow them to show themselves and our team in the best capacity, and that's all we can hope for, really.
Well, we're looking forward to see who you face, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Massive congratulations to Bryan Barry Murphy there with their EDS winning 2-1 against RB Leipzig in the UEFA Youth Champions League. We'll be hoping for the same tonight with our first team. Steve, a brilliant result for our team. Granted, as well as we know, some of them are kind of a couple of years younger than that age group, so it's a great achievement to have qualified.
Well, I think it's a great result, but I think for these kids now playing in this kind of environment is absolutely wonderful. I mean, I can remember when I first started, we played just like the youth team, and it was just you're playing against maybe these lads a couple of years older than you. But then there was the intermediate league at Newcastle and playing teams in and around you. To be playing against lads from different countries and how they would their movement, because obviously when you played like English football, which we're all kind of used to, when you play a foreign team, it's different.
Yeah.
They are different. So the lessons they're learning are absolutely invaluable, because we never had that until we got further on in our careers. So the stuff that they're learning now, not only just individually but collectively as a group, and the travel and stuff like that, the experiences is absolutely superb.
Yeah, I can only stand them in good stead as they kind of move further kind of on in their careers, Shaun. And I remember last year we had a tough draw away to Split last year. So I guess we'll be hoping for a bit more of a favourable draw. But brilliant for Bryan Barry Murphy, him as well. And great little squad there.
Yeah, I mean, he's now and again, because I'm in the building, I'm able to see the odd training session that he does, or spend maybe 5 or 10 minutes seeing bits of his session that he puts on. And I happened to actually catch a glance of the goal and Josh before coming over. And Josh, the goal was brilliant because he's timed his run. He sort of scores it between his 6 and the penalty spot. But the pullback, the attacking player, I can't remember which player it was, but as a defender goes down to slide to block it, and he pulls it back missing, and talking about good defenders, but this defender goes to ground, and when he gets pulled back, he misses the defender, and he could have easily went to sort of flash it across the box and hit the defender. But it was a really great decision from the forward, who pulls it back, finds Josh, who finds the net. And I just happened to catch that goal, but I thought, Bryan will be looking at those things in terms of decision making, but it's really good that they have this experience, because as Steve's saying, playing against these different players who do play the game slightly different, perhaps they're not as aggressive, but they're a little bit more patient in their play, or more aggressive. It's just different things they come up against. It's really good for their development. So good result as well.
Just a quick thing as well. Obviously, when they play abroad, I mean, I don't know what the lads think the same, but the ball moved differently. The grass felt different.
Yeah, no way.
The turf felt different. Just the atmosphere is different. And I only kind of sampled that like a lot later on in my career. These are getting it now, and it might sound stupid to people at home and stuff like that, but honestly, it does. The ball moves, rolls differently, grass, everything is completely different. So these kind of experiences are absolutely unbelievable for them.
And as you said, we all know as well how important the details are as well, and all those things come into it. But massive congratulations, 2-1 winners for our EDS in the UEFA Youth League against RB Leipzig. Before we get final thoughts from our guys, because I mean, gents, flown again 15 minutes until kickoff. We are now going to turn to look at and focus on the King Colin Bell, the third and final person in our brilliant new statue that's been unveiled today outside the Etihad Stadium.
I have to ask you as well about the relationship that you had with your dad and the memories that you would have shared together. Are there any memories that stick out?
Yeah, so he wasn't a very tactile or emotional person, but the Aguero moment and winning the Premier League here, when maybe we thought it just slipped out of our fingertips, But yeah, that was a great day, and yeah, as I say, would never really be a huggy person, but on that day he was different. But it felt like every supporter that day, just that joy of finally getting that first one, and then since then he loved watching. David Silva was his favourite player, and so yeah, he was a supporter towards the latter end of his life. He was always a fan of the players, so he was never the big I am, and never really made a big thing about his history. It was about the current day and the present era.
Well, today's all about him, of course, and the other two that have been on, and the team. Jack, I have to ask you real quick, looking at the statue, what are your first thoughts?
Everything.
Are you really happy?
Yeah.
How much does it mean for you as well to be able to bring Jack here, and then for him to in the future be able to learn everything about in particular Colin and his teammates?
Yes, all the grandchildren today have been buzzing, and yeah, you can't keep the smiles off their face. They're very proud of what their granddad achieved, but they're proud of the football club. They're proud to be part of this family. So yeah, since Dad died, the club have continued to be amazing. There's a great warmth here, and there's a culture that has been built, like you see amongst all the staff and the players. They're building something more than just a great team on the football pitch. It's everything off the pitch as well. And yeah, Ferran talked today about 1 billion people following Manchester City now. It's a massive global entity, but they have a responsibility about the badge, and these players started that originally, players before them, but it's continuing the growth of what is a great organisation.
Well, we are so grateful that you've taken the time out to speak to us. We're so grateful for the Bell family as a whole, and we hope there's plenty more memories to come with this statue. That was the thoughts of John and Jack. Before we go, quick score prediction going into the game.
I've not even thought about the game today, so yeah. I think.
What about Jack? Jack, what score do you think is going to be?
3-0.
3-0 to City. Who do you think is going to score?
Haaland hat-trick.
Haaland hat-trick. Listen, you'd be a madman to bet against him. All right, let's head back to the studio. That was the thoughts of John and Jack as well.
Thanks to John there, and a great prediction as well from Colin's grandson there with Haaland hat-trick. We love to see it. Paul, just before when we speak about the man, I know he's my granddad's favourite player, and my granddad has always, they're all three of them great, but always earmarked Colin as the best. And why do you think that is? What was it that Colin did when he was on a pitch?
Well, just is, I think, look, listening to people and talking to them, I'll go back to what I said at the very start of the programme about Colin, was that, you know, every Man City fan you speak to, you can think over the last few years, you know, with David Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, Sergio Aguero, all these icons that we've got now, every one of them say that Colin Bell was the best player in the club's history, and that's saying something in itself. Just a fantastic footballer. Was it Nijinsky after the ballet dancer or something that used to call him because of because of his balance? But you know, away from the football side of it, because you know wasn't fortunate enough to see Colin play that much. But what a man! What a man! You know, I got to know John, his son and family fairly well, and they were super proud. But they would say it all the time that they just wish Dad would show a little bit more to how good he was. You know, they used to own one of the dry cleaners round by where we lived, and used to go in, and fans used to turn up to go and see him, and he would go and hide in the back because he was embarrassed, because people thought he was obviously this superstar, and he was a superstar, you know, world-class player, but just he hated the spotlight, hated the limelight about it. He just felt as if it was his job, that's what he was doing. He was playing football, and but yeah, just an unbelievably lovely man who was super proud of his family, all of his family as well. You know, whenever you spoke to him, it was all, you know, would always ask how your family were, but would always take it back to his family, what they were up to, what John was doing, what the grandkids were doing, you know, and just an amazing man. But, you know, from what you hear and what everybody tells you, just an unbelievable footballer as well.
Yeah, unbelievable footballer. And Shaun, a footballer that probably wouldn't have looked out of place in this Pep Guardiola team. I think if there's anyone you think, how could this team be improved? Maybe the addition of Colin Bell might just have done just that. Yeah, exactly. I mean, as we know, was that sort of midfielder was box to box. You know, I again didn't have many interactions with him, but the odd time I had interactions, he was very humble, but it was weird because for someone that achieved what he's achieved, he almost wanted to be in the background. So when I'm hearing Paul speak about him as well, it's like, this makes sense, because he wasn't one of those like, well, I've achieved this, I've done this, and I'm out the front, and he was just like, it was almost like, I'm nobody, but you're like
no, you are the man in this room. You're the man. But he was very humble and really didn't like the spotlight on him in a sense. But I'm also just been thinking that when I think of all three of them, their positions, midfielders and wide player, they're like selfless positions. And in terms of back then, wingers were about supplying crosses for strikers, and the midfielders was either tidying up the dirty work or being box to box. And again, that's a lot of selfless in terms of their play. And it's no surprise that we're honouring them. But yeah, Colin was one that seemed to me more in the background. I was very quiet, but just very humble. I think that's what I think of my interactions with him.
Yeah, I think we're three wonderful players, but if you speak to Mike and you speak to Francis, they'll say that Colin was the best.
Yeah.
And I think that tells you something.
It does indeed. Well, listen, the light shows that happens at the Etihad. I mean, honestly, I'm biased, but please go back and watch some of these light shows from this season because it's unbelievable. We're going to be able to enjoy it now. This one, of course, honouring those three legends, Mike Summerby, Francis Lee and Colin King Bell. And to any young fans watching, I implore you to go on YouTube or wherever you watch your videos and just have a watch of some of the highlights in that City team. It'll be well worth your time, and it just shows you how important, integral they are to our history and to where we are now. Gents, before we hand over to the light show, just very quickly, we'll be back at half time, but what are your score predictions, Paul?
Said it wouldn't be 7, I'll go 4.
4 from Paul. Sean?
I was thinking 4, but because Paul's got 4, I'm going to say 5.
5?
Ooh. I'm going to go lower, so I'll go 3.
3, we've covered the
base.
base.
I'll go for a half.
Yeah.
Allowed a half. 3.5.
There, 3.5. All right, then. Well, listen, thank you everyone for joining us. Enjoy the game and enjoy this our light show dedicated to those three legends once again: Colin Bell, Francis Lee, and Mike Summerby. We'll see you at half time. Come on, City.
Then Lee Roebuck, who scored again and again and again. Who attacked with courage, power, and pace. A constant danger at match-winning ace. He was determined and tenacious, with a sidestep and swerve. He would never flinch or give an inch, and would always hold his nerve. Would spark another scoring spree. He rode the tackles, loved the battles, and was always ready to show who was boss and deliver another telling cross. Heroes, our champions, our pride and our joy, our scintillating, stunning, spellbinding boys. These three set us apart, they brought us together. They'll be a part of this club, now and forever. For after we are all long gone, what they did for this city will always live on.
It's a very, very special night, this one. If you weren't aware of it before, you just have to look into the tunnel at the moment and see that the modern day treble winning City